Number One Guitar, episode number 5, with none other than longtime New Orleans mainstay killer slide guitar player, Mr. Marc Stone.
What's say?
Thank you for taking the time to make it. I know you are busy with a lot of things. We're going to get to that stuff later. But first and foremost, a little something different, man. You have quite an instrument in front of me, brother. This is a 1968-ish Gibson Dove. I am shutting my mouth. Can we hear this beautiful thing?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic, brother. That is quite an issue. I mean, it's difficult to. We're in a podcast scenario. We're not. He's not mic'd up, folks. He's not mic'd up to hear the full impact of his guitar. It is something else. That's quite a beautiful thing. Put it wherever you want, bro.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Who's this guy? We'll get to this, your new record, very shortly, my friend.
Cool.
You are, as I said, you are a long-time stalwart in New Orleans, and you're obviously a long-time player. This guitar, we're going to get to the ins and outs of this thing in a little while. Let's start with the origins. What was your first guitar? What was your earliest musical influences? So usually those things kind of come together, but where do you want to start with that?
Well, this was actually the first acoustic guitar I ever owned. I had started playing music when I was 9. I was listening to, my stepdad gave me all his old Coasters records and all the 50s rock and roll stuff. But particularly, there was this sound on Coasters records, and I was like, what is that? I've got to learn to do that. He said, that's a tenor saxophone. And he had played tenor when he was younger. He'd been like a semi-pro jazz player around New York in, I guess, his late teens, early 20s. And so he started me on B-flat clarinet. I didn't particularly love it. And then puberty hit, and I switched to bass.
After puberty hit, and you switched to bass?
Yeah, I wanted something rock and roll, you
Understood.
know, like not 50s rock and roll. I wanted to rock, you know, and then I heard B.B. King, and that was it. And I started playing guitar when I was about 16, and then when I was 17, my parents were very supportive, and they bought me this guitar and sent me off to the 5-week Berklee Music summer program. That's the kind of the kiddie program. There's a longer program. And that's really where I learned what has carried me through in terms of my basic theory knowledge ever since. You know stuff about chord movement and voice leading. I mean, I'm not a jazz cat, and I'm not a total harmony maven, but I know my basics and know how to use them because of what I learned there, and it was a great experience. And I got to see B.B. King for the first time that summer. He was on Boston Common with, it was Bobby Bland with Wayne Bennett on guitar. And I didn't know who Wayne Bennett was at the time, but let me tell you, I did not long after that. Then B.B. and then the OJs on Boston Common. And this is when Eddie LaVerge must have been in his 40s, so the OJs set was insane. And BB was probably in his early 60s, so he was still
prime.
Same thing with Bobby Lamb. Like these guys were still very much in their extended primes. And it was such an experience to see that. And I was right up front. I got my ticket day of the show, and they had just released Front Row Center. So, yeah, actually, I went to buy a ticket for my weed dealer. I already had
You saw BB King Front Row Center, no shit.
Yeah, I could see the diamonds in his ring.
Beautiful.
It was amazing. And he was still, standing up, full range of his voice, absolute 100%. Every bit of BB King, and not that he wasn't wonderful later, but I mean, I'm glad I got to see him when he was still.
Sure. Yeah, it was different. He did it to the end.
Yeah. So and then so my parents, my mother and stepfather, got this guitar for me. We got it from We Buy Guitars on 48th Street in Manhattan.
This is all in New York City. I was good. This is in Manhattan. Okay.
Yeah, and then so when I was 17, I went up to Boston for the summer. And lived in the Mass Ave dorms and did the the summer program there and learned so much. I mean, it was really a great experience, and it was also fun, being away from home in the city for the summer. Before I went off to college, it was a great experience all around. But this guitar, that's where this guitar and I started off together, and then I played this instrument probably more hours, both on stage and off, than just about everything else I own combined.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
This guitar, your parents bought you this guitar when you were 9 years old?
No,
or 16 years old?
I was 17.
Okay. 16 or 17, and this is it. You're the one owner. Gibson.
No. This is
no, not a 68, but this is it.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
I've owned
Both
this
of us are
guitar
23
since
years old.
1987. Yeah. So, into 68. So the guitar was almost 20 years old, and it wasn't. That it was that era of Gibson. At that point, people were still making clear distinctions between Norland and non-Norland Gibsons. I mean, they still do, I guess, but and CBS and pre-CBS Fenders. So this was not by any means a really expensive guitar. It was just a decent, good, used Gibson acoustic. But I mean, it's definitely, I've had plenty of days when it made more than its origin price, in
a lot of that's
work compensation. So yeah, but really, I've learned more on this guitar than all of you combined. When I went to college, I said, if I really want to be a good blues player, I have to learn the finger pick. And I was lucky to be in New York, and Martin Simpson was living there at the time.
Really?
And I started to take some lessons from him.
Did you really? Well done.
But and that's really been helpful. I love finger picking. When I leave here now, I'll catch the M&O. When I leave here now, I'll catch the M&O. I'm going way down south where, good Lord, I've never been before.
Jesus, that thing is ridiculous, Mark.
It likes to be played, and it's good.
Fullness is unreal.
Yeah, and it likes all different styles of playing. Let's see, what did I do with that flat pick?
You tossed it here.
Dang. Oh, that's right. If you want, strumming,
I would argue it's a lot in the hands of the player, my friend. Obviously, my compliments.
It's just a very responsive guitar, and it's got a nice articulation on top without being harsh. It's all the good stuff. Honestly, I haven't played this guitar. I just slapped strings on it today for this. The intonation's a little off and it's a little unstable from not being in regular use for a while, but
Close enough for jazz.
it's yummy no matter what I play on it, and it takes slide really well.
Incredibly balanced instrument, super balanced.
Do you have a glass slide handy by any chance?
A glass one? I do not, my friend. When I was very young, I sat on a glass slide and cut my ass, so that's it. That was the last one I ever had.
Learning lesson.
Yes, it was definitely a learning lesson. I fucking pulled a piece of glass out of there, that was it.
Yeah, this thing, and it's nice, you know. I mean, I got set up. Well, it's not like I said, it hasn't been set up in a while, but it lives moderately high, but not crazy high, and it handles slide and all the different tunings. Well, if I want, take it up to open A.
Now, when you play slide, do you like going up to open A or down to open G? Obviously, you like to go up to open A. That's what you shot for.
Yeah, A and E are my home bases because just vocally. Although, I mean, I love doing. I do love D and G, and there's some stuff I sing in those keys with a slide. Go-to would be open A, particularly A.
You speak A, pretty much. Your tonal register, your speaking voice is largely around A.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. It's a very
That's what I
comfortable
hear,
place for me vocally. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing to this love, now you got a little time and little crowds for alone. Now you think you're too late, love, you're running along, baby. Your heart has no place for home. It's everything to work so hard, just a little money to show. And you'll say alone, where can you go now? You can call me love, oh, come on, call me. I mean, yeah, it's definitely my comfort zone right there.
It's God bless New Orleans. I gotta say, man, I am a very lucky man to be surrounded by people like that. All right, so I'm quite excited as far as this podcast goes. I've had a number of different players. Dean was on here, Jerry Duggar was on here, Becky was on here, Becky Blanca, and Alex. You're the first slide guitar player that I've had here, and obviously I play slide guitar. What brought you to it? I mean, the slide guitar for a kid growing up in Manhattan or a kid growing up in New Jersey. What brought you there?
I mean, come on. Yeah, if you grew up listening to rock and roll radio, you had, of course, the Allman Brothers and stuff like that, and Clapton to a degree playing slide on stuff, and then, I was listening to Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson from pretty early on. I started listening to Muddy Waters. My uncle got me a Muddy Waters album when I was maybe 11. Okay. And this is, it was the Muddy Mississippi Waters Live on Blue Sky from the later Resurrection part of his career, where Johnny Winter had, taken an interest in helping him get the appropriate recognition. And so this is, Muddy really, when he's fully got that, standard tuning slide thing from the second guitar playing part of his career, as opposed to the open tuning stuff he was doing in the early 50s. But, the standard tuning stuff he was doing, I guess, probably from late 50s, early 60s on. And his tone with that Telecaster, it's probably a Silver-Faced Twin, just wide open. stunning, man.
Stinging is ridiculous. That right there, yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. That, I mean, it's just, love it, you know. But, you know, I loved Elmore James, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, I was listening to, my first guitar teacher. Well, actually, the first tape he gave me, like 2 of the first 3 songs, maybe the first 2, but my mama told me so by the Crusaders was in there too. But the first 3 songs on that tape, in some order or another, were Death Letter Blues by Sunhouse, Hideaway by Freddie King, and My Mama Told Me So. So what's interesting is, you know, I learned that stuff, and, you know, through the years, I've been lucky enough to develop playing relationships with John Mooney.
That's where I was going to go next.
Yeah, came up playing with Sunhouse when John was just a teenager, you know, and he is one of the few great living vessels for that music and that style. And, you know, he's in the lineage with Robert Johnson and Muddy Waters of Sunhouse's direct proteges, along with his name, Joe Beard up in Rochester, who I've never met, but and then also, you know, wound up playing with Benny Turner on and off for many years. He's like 85, 86 now, and still crushing it on the blues circuit. And he's Freddie King's younger brother. He's the bass player. If you're ever looking at any of those Freddie King videos from the 70s,
I love Freddie King.
When they're wearing the nudie suits and playing the big festivals in Europe and stuff. Yeah, they're really that just explosive later era of Freddie King. Benny was his
powerful guitar player, Freddie King. Powerful.
And Benny's Freddie in the lower registers. His biological half brother. He was his bass player and band leader and harmony singer.
I gotta check that out. That I'm not familiar with, man.
So getting to play with those guys, and, you know, I've done gigs with them together, which is just amazing, you know. But you know, it's interesting that those first 2 tunes kind of led me on. But, you know, I mean, everybody learns Hideaway, you know. It's kind of, but, you know, I mean, you know, you got to do it, right? And, you know, I mean, Sunhouse should, you know, it's not you know, deeply obscure stuff. I'm not Robert Crumb digging in, you know, in junk shops in the 50s and early 60s trying to find this stuff or something. You know, it's out there for us, and especially now with the internet.
All of this shit goes right. I mean, for my money, it goes back to Sunhouse or
well, there you go.
A lot of it does, at the very least. I mean, the argument could be made, for me anyway, it goes to Sunhouse. That's the original.
Well, you know, I've been reading Chris Thomas King's book, and I need to get back to it, but I got to play with Chris for the first time last week, which is just a beautiful experience. Mm-hmm. We did a concert for the Funk Festival that was their super VIP premium concert. You know, we were the concert you got with your $1,000 super VIP ticket, and which is a sponsorship ticket, and it was to celebrate the opening of the Louisiana Blues exhibit at the New Orleans Jazz Museum, which is where the Funk Fest was held. And that was curated by my dear friend David Kenyon, who's the chief curator for music for the whole Louisiana State Museum organization, the chief curator at the Jazz Museum here in New Orleans. And so they asked me to curate and lead a show to celebrate the opening of that exhibit. I was really honored that, you know.
Yeah, that's something else.
And especially that, you know, well, and Chris has written an incredible book, Chris Thomas King, called The Blues, The Authentic Narrative of My Music and My People. And he's done such exhaustive research, and the research and the writing are gorgeous. I mean, not only is he a great, true indigenous blues man from a great Baton Rouge blues family, you know, and I mean, people forget he was already, you know, a signed label touring artist before he got picked up for the film roles in Oh Brother Where Art Thou and Ray and stuff like that. And he's continued to, you know, to push things musically. But then he started doing this research, and his primary premise is that the blues as we know it, the musical genre that we can identify as the blues, is born in New Orleans at the turn of the century, not in rural environments in the teens and the 20s. And he calls it I believe, a creolized Negro minimalist art movement.
Original blues from
urban Bohemian Creoles Well, I mean,
Is that, I don't know. I haven't
well,
really-
I mean, the blues is not reduced to that at all. I mean, that's an important foundational thing. But I mean, structurally, there's a lot more possibilities than that go back to the earliest days. But in terms of it being something that would identify as a blues style, and what the early players in New Orleans were calling blues, that people might have later called early jazz, but I think in the vernacular of the players, according to Chris and to other sources, you know, blues was the preferred term for the music they were playing. Anyway, just to have people like him and Bruce Sunpie Barnes, who are both great practitioners and scholars of their cultural legacy, you know, to have them trust me to lead something like that, to represent the culture on that level, was really meaningful, you know.
Yeah,
and
well, you're not just good. You're not pushing buttons on this thing, man. You know what you're doing.
well, no, I mean, but it's
And you respect it, obviously.
Yeah, you have to respect
Absolutely.
the music and where it comes from. And I've been very grateful for that. You know, and the support I've gotten from people like I mean, this is the first time I worked with Chris, but I mean, you know, I mean, after the show, the day after, I was so overwhelmed. I realized, like, Sunpie and Mooney, you know, and so many of the people involved in this are people who I have years-long relationships with. The people in my band.
You're not in good company, man. You are the company. That's the
No,
reality.
man,
of
we
it.
are all the company here, bro. If you can't stay humble in this environment,
Oh.
you aren't listening. I mean, I am so grateful. I believe in what I do. I'm grateful for the place that I've earned in the community, whatever that may be, or the opportunity to have myself and my music heard, the opportunity to contribute. But thank God there is a city like this that is just teeming with talent and
Amen,
soul and intentionality and respect for the roots and forward thinking. I mean, it's all there, and it's all so beautiful. And to get to be part of all that, like, you know, playing lap steel with like young, you know, grungy, nasty rock bands. I mean, I love that just as much as in a different way that I love playing the blues and R&B with the you know, I've been able to play with so many inventors, you know, but the whole experience here is just so incredible.
It's an inspiring journey. You're not. I was going to say you've put together, but you're not done putting anything together. It's an inspiring journey you're on. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, and we're all doing it day by day here. You know, that's the beauty of it.
That is the beauty of it. That is this place, unlike any other place.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna come. Like I gotta ask some questions about. This podcast is number one guitar, and you brought it. From a slide guitar standpoint, where are you on the people that comment on these? They're like, well, we want to hear more about the gear. So are you like, what do you play on the strings? Do you have any real preferences there? Action, picks, scale. Obviously, you like the Gibson. Where else are we?
I'm
Start
really
with
glad-
strings. How, you use heavy strings or light? Or
Depends on the instrument. I'm very glad that I initially learned to play slide with regular action, regular 10s or 11s,
Okay.
probably 11s, for strings in standard tuning, because as a working professional, being able to grab a slide in the middle of any song and have some fluency and be able to get around is very important. And, you know, standard here. Yeah, so it's good to you know, to know your neck with your slide, and to know your touch with your slide. It's always, I'm glad that I developed a light touch first. Now, there with a steel national and certain other instruments, and being inspired by John Mooney, who uses, you know, I mean, you could pull ships with the cable that he uses for strings. He strings something like 15 to 56. And he generally is tuned down to D or G, but still it's a lot of string tension, man. And he uses a metal finger pick and a plastic thumb pick. And the combination of those things and the incredible work that he does to get his guitars to speak at their optimum. He's a genius for incremental tone improvement by working on points of contact on the guitar and setup and stuff. Really brilliant person in addition to being a brilliant player. Now that tone, you're not going to get that very often with thin strings. You need some rope to get that. And I love that. I love being able to dig in like Sunhouse did, or like Mooney does, where you're putting downward pressure on the slide. You can't really do. I'm putting a little downward pressure here, but if I do too much on it, I'm already starting to fret out on the end, you know. And actually, this is a set of 11s. What I would usually do, if I was going to be gigging this guitar, is I would do the set of 11s with a 12 on top for a little more support for slide.
Those are 11s that you get a lot out of that, Mark. A lot out of 11s, man.
Beautiful big piece of maple.
It's a big, it's a big neck, big, but
you know, this was Gibson's top of the line acoustic instrument at the time. The Dove was kind of the acoustic flagship at that time, and it's a killer guitar.
The maturity of that guitar is, you know, there is. You and I are obviously both fans of old Gibson guitars. There is nothing that beats time on a guitar. I really do believe that.
That time and use.
And right, yeah. An old guitar unplayed is a new guitar, but an old guitar played is a different story.
And you know that, I mean, they're all different.
Like an acoustic guitar.
I had a 1958 ES 175. That guitar was a dog. It was just, but the pickups were divine. Mm-hmm. But you know what? So was the $7,200 I got for those pickups. And I wound up.
What year was it?
Yeah, they were 58 PAS.
Somebody bought the fucking pickups for $7,000.
Oh, they would be 12, 14 now probably. And this was 7-8 years ago. Yeah, this original 58 PAFs on the harness in great shape, and damn did they sound good. And people would say, "Oh my God, how did you separate?" I'm like, you know what? I did everybody a favor. No, the guitar wasn't worthy of the pickups. I think whoever bought them was going to put them in some really fancy build. I hope it was a better piece. I mean, because the 175 was a cheap guitar for Gibson. It was their working man's laminate offering. Some of them are outstanding. You know, Bonnie Raitt's guitar. I mean, come on. You know, with the single P90, I mean, some of them are great. This one just wasn't. It really was not a yummy piece of wood. I wound up selling it cheaply, like less than a new ES 175 price, to you know, a jazz player here in town who used it for a while, and then he tried to sell it for about double what I.
Not without those fucking pickups in it, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, time and gone, he probably made a 60-70% profit, which is great. The guy who sold it to me wanted me to have it, knew what he had, knew what was in it. I traded him pedal steel and some money. He was just happy to see me have it, you know. So nobody felt burned, you know. Some of the purists would say, "Oh, you broke up an old Gibson," but you know what?
They're not. They're meant to be played, man.
They're meant to be played, and most
some people would go nuts. They would go, "What are you doing?
A lot of professionals, yeah. But I mean, like, you see what a lot of really good. I mean, I'm friends with John Mooney and Alvin Youngblood Hart and Cranston Clements, and absolute, you know, Frankenstein butcher freaks when it comes to doing what needs to be done to make an instrument the instrument they want it to be, and what they can do with guitars to make them speak at a higher level is extraordinary, you know.
And I am personally fascinated, both of us are personally fascinated with guitars and how they're used. And I do find slide guitarists especially, everybody's got a different take on what's what and what works for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I need to get one of these amps. That is just such a good amp for the bread.
This particular one is on offer, my friend. We'll talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Just like everything else, almost everything else. Everything's on offer.
Well, you know, I do like to swap.
Listen. We'll have that conversation.
Yeah, that'll be our next episode.
That'll be the next thing. Here we go.
And with the Fishman Rare Earth pickup through a tube amp, you can't. I mean, it doesn't sound like a mic'd acoustic exactly, but boy, it's still a very nice acoustic-y kind of sound. I mean, a very natural.
Is that is an old Rare Earth from like the 90s, correct? Or is it a brand new one? It's a new one?
You know, I swear, I have a few of these, and sometimes they get swapped from guitar to guitar if one of them breaks or something, and I don't. It's not. It's definitely not old.
You know. Well, it's a hell of a pickup. Those Rare Earths, they're something else. With the with the batteries in it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the active version, but you know. Sorry, I'm not feeling very impressive with my playing today. I'm tired as hell, but that's all right.
Well, let's move on. Let's move to this record. Tell us about this record, "Shining Like a Diamond," Mark Stone. All words and music by Mark Stone, except for one who was a co-write with Christoph Weibel.
Yeah.
Where are we on this one? How old is this? When did it come out?
Well, it was mostly a pandemic project. I soft-released it, I think as early as 2022, and then it got picked up by a label out of Colorado called Bent River Records, courtesy of Joe and Ruth Michaels, who are the label, really lovely people up in Broomfield, Colorado. And Joe used to tour as a sound man with the Rolling Stones and Leonard Skinner and people like that.
Cool.
He's still it goes back to the Fillmore days, working at the Fillmore, and is still very active out there, producing
cool.
and doing live mixing and stuff. So that officially came out in April of this year. And the title track actually is the oldest song that I have that I wrote and kept when I was a kid. And I'm sure I wrote it on this guitar, I think sitting in Central Park. Teetering on the brink of maybe, I feel the fall. Darkness threatens me through my days. Wandering through the sunlit streets with summertime impresses me. I can't see the light through the haze. Yeah. And I stole licks from a few tunes. I remember.
Steal is a very, very heavy word.
So my little intro here. Someone who I think I had just seen at the Ritz in New York, and of course I always knew this tune, but you know.
We won't tell.
Yeah, and the other was kind of. Yeah, I think going to the 4 there. I mean, everyone goes to the 4 on the bridge. That's a pretty common device, but I think
that's not stealing. And I would argue that you didn't steal the first one.
No, but I knew that I was taking the elements of that riff and coming up with my own idea off it, and then kind of Hendrix inspired also for the the 6 to the 3rd, the bass, the 7. Except I'm going up chromatically. But yeah, I'm sure that was written on this guitar sitting in Central Park.
That's cool. It's extremely cool that you have you've got the lifetime effectively on that guitar. That's something else, man.
Yeah, man.
So this "Shining Like a Diamond," it's gonna be streaming everywhere. Mark Stone with a C, M-A-R-C Stone. Mark with a C.
Yeah, it's streaming everywhere, and I can give you a link to post along with the streaming tree for this.
I'll get all that stuff.
Yeah, it was a fun project to do. I may, you know what? I may have not used this guitar at all on that record, though. Now that I think about it, it's entirely pop. Yeah, I don't think this is on any of the tracks on that record.
Well, there's another record in you, man.
It's been on plenty of tracks in the past. Yeah, you pull what you need. But one of the other things that I really dig about this guitar, if I put a little of this artificial sauce on it.
We'll get to that pedal board right after you show the sauce.
Sure. Well, no, the sauce being just like a little breakup, And I played this thing through, you know, a 210 vibe reverb, you know, about 40 watts, raging loud on stage, playing slide through it for something that would be more like this kind of vibe, like, you know. That kind of tone, but at full roaring stage volume, no feedback issues, totally under control. This guitar is amazing. You can make it feedback, but you can also really stop it from doing that. You can get this nice arch kind of sound.
The longer, you know, there's an awful lot of spilled ink on gear, and you know, in my younger years I definitely fell for it, but the older I get, the more it is in your hands. I mean, you're playing a guitar that a lot of people would shy away from doing what you're doing on it. But you remember that. Kids, remember that. It's in your hands more than anything else.
Well, and it's also, you know, knowing, I mean, it's not what it says on the headstock. It's not. It's picking up a guitar and knowing that it's making noises you want it to make the way you want, and it's got some surprises in there for you. You know, I mean, you know, if you pick up a guitar, regardless of whether it's $100 guitar or, you know, $100,000 guitar, you know, if you feel like it's a channel for you.
Right.
That's just the truth.
Different people, different players.
Absolutely.
Different people, different instruments, and that's what makes this, you know, it's cool. I mean, guitars are all different style, all this other stuff. Like the average person, a saxophone is a saxophone, a piano is a piano. A pianist and a saxophone player totally different. It's far more visible, the choice with a guitar player.
Well, of course, and I mean, let's face it, guitar players are all whores for aesthetics too.
Very much so. Yeah.
You know, I mean,
this guitar player included.
Yeah, man, come on. Look, we all like our stuff to look cool and blah, blah, blah. But let me see if I can get some real ugly on this. Hold on a second. Just absolute, like, this thing is even... And a lot less people are going to be shying away from that kind of stuff because Billy Strings has certainly done amazing things with, you know, using supremely distorted tones on his acoustic and gets just some amazing sounds that you would never get out of an electric guitar because it's a different kind of instrument. But I mean, he plays, you know, in addition to his pristine, clean kind of playing, I mean, when he wants to turn on his, you know, metal level distortion and go for it, the sound off that instrument is incredible, man. I've been so blown away by the sounds he gets out of his instruments live, and it's obvious that he spends a lot of time, effort, and money on making sure his production is excellent. Not just the visual production that, you know, you can really see the growth over the years, but the audio production for that band, man, they always sound so freaking good.
It is amazing how much time all musicians, not just guitar players, spend on that tone. And in reality, when you get in front of an audience, there's two types of guitar tones, good and bad.
Well,
almost always. It's either shrill or pleasant, or, I mean, your average listener's not listening for roundness or anything like that, but they feel it.
And it has to be how it sits in the context of a given tune. At this point,
very true.
I wish I had spent less time thinking about tone, so to speak. Not thinking about tone production with my hands, that's a different thing, but thinking about the ancillary stuff and trying different stuff, because part of me wishes I had only ever had this guitar, one solid body and one hollow body and a resonator, one of each, and never tried anything else, because the relationship you develop with an instrument when you know it that well, it's just different. You know, it's like having the same lover for, you know, a long time.
Similar.
Exactly, you know, so, and you keep learning.
You know what it can do and what it can't. And every once in a while, like, I don't own it, but personally, people ask me about the guitar that I play. I don't own a Ferrari. But son of a bitch, I don't want a Ferrari. I sit down with one every day. And this thing's very similar. Very similar.
Yeah, now that's a little aggressive sonically, but I mean, just to give you an idea.
That's brilliant. This guitar is something.
It's really, it's definitely my desert island guitar, because it was like, you got one guitar to work with and do everything you needed to do for the rest of your life. This thing does all of it well. There may be certain things where another guitar might do it quote unquote better. And yeah, okay, got limitations on the upper fret access or whatever. But I mean, you know, it just sounds so freaking good and plays so well and is so familiar to my hands. I mean, part of me wants to just scrap the rest of my guitar collection and just take this to every gig. But you know,
I think that happens when you get a little older. It's happening to me too. It's happening, and I mean, both of us are 23 years old. But clearly, I think you go through it.
You know, I don't need to believe I'm 23 to feel good about it. You know. But yeah, no, I mean, hopefully along this musical adventure, we keep learning more and more of what opens up, gives us the channels that we need to express through. Because that's what it's like. And I wish I had, as a guitar player, because we have these whole industries that are geared towards making us guitar-centric, I wish my guitar teachers, including the guy who dissed B.B. King in my audition, Rick Beato, I wish they had talked more about.
We can talk about that, brother, if you want.
No, I mean, it's just, he's grown up a lot since then. But, but the so much less focus on talking about making music with the instrument. What is the music you're making with the instrument? Because an instrument is exactly that. It is an instrument with which you do something. And that's one of the problems I see with the Guitar Gear obsession, which I'm as much a victim and often propagator of anyone else. But,
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an addict. And basically that's where it falls for me, for sure.
But what it also means is you spend more time on stage thinking about adjusting to a new instrument than you do to playing. And I saw an interesting quote from Jerry.
You play a lot of different types of music, though, Mark. You play.
Well, but having different tools to do different things is one thing. Constantly trying to reinvent the wheel by, buying a new guitar, changing this, changing that. It's all part of the adventure, and there's great things that come out of that. But there are also great things that come out of. There's not much for me to mess around with here, man. I mean, the pickup's the pickup. This is the kind of pickup I like. Fine. There's nothing I'm going to do to this instrument. I mean, the bridge was long since replaced. It was the old adjustable Gibson thing with a nice bone saddle, nice bone nut. Tuners work. These were Spurzels early on. I got these because the Grovers or whatever that were on this were shot, and probably in retrospect I would have gotten something more vintage that didn't require drilling. But you know what? They've been on here for almost 40 years.
You selling this guitar in your lifetime?
I almost did.
Really?
I was engaged to a woman who's a wonderful piano player and singer-songwriter, and things were going bad, and I was like, she's like, no, that guitar still has songs in it, and I'm so grateful she said that, because she was 100% right. Yeah, and that's the beauty. At the end of the day, it's not the instrument; it's the music you make with it. And it's taken me a long time to get out of that guitar-centric head.
I think I've said this quote every time I've done one of these, and Jim Hall, a personal hero of mine, jazz
Sure.
great Jim Hall, said about guitars. He played a 175 along with Joe Pass and Herb Ellis and all the other cats. And somebody asked him about the guitar, and he looked him straight in the eye, and he said, "It's not a wife or a dog; it's a tool."
Yeah.
That's it.
175. You got to think about what a good, usable, versatile tool. The big boxes, like a big, expensive L5. It's big. It's heavy to carry. It's it's more fragile. A 175 is a good working person's axe, and then you get those beautiful, warm, sweet, soft tones out of a laminate body that are different than the articulation out of a fully carved instrument like an L5 or something.
You just bought. We played on a show a couple weeks ago, a month ago. somewhere. I forget what the name. What was the name?
It
Saturn
was,
Bar.
it was a Saturn bar, yeah.
And you had just bought you brought 11 to an 11 arch top, a big one, probably
Yeah.
17-inch arch top.
18.
It's an 18. Okay.
Big guitar.
Big guitar.
Yeah.
Um,
I traded a 335 for that. No regrets.
no regret. It's a hell of a guitar.
Yeah.
It was a powerful thing on stage to listen to. It was strong, big.
Yeah, my description of that guitar is it feels like playing the whole tree. You know, it's hand carved. It's a little heavy. I wish that it was carved a little lighter, honestly.
Okay.
But still, you know, it's still pretty exquisite. And it's, you know, it was the top of the line for this Swedish brand in 1961 or so, the top of the line electric. And they were Levin was a well-established builder at that point, going back to the 20s probably, I think, or earlier. And, you know, it's a great guitar. It's just this huge, wonderful piece of wood with two vintage D'Armond 2000 quote-unquote Dynasonic pickups in it that are very kind of uncolored and natural sound. And it can be mid-range, you know, depending on how you set them. Yeah, you got it. But, I mean, when that thing's doing what it's supposed to do, it just sounds like it sounds like a huge chunk of wood making music. It's really a cool thing.
I am a absolute proponent. I don't think any pickup other than I think that most arch tops are very well supported by D'Armonds. They very much are. They were made for those guitar mics.
Oh yeah, those are cool. I mean, yeah.
Hot and super rangy. You can turn it to 0, turn it to 10. You got 10 different guitars.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy, those things.
That's true. Which also makes them a little bit difficult to work with. You know,
True.
you know, we were talking about arch tops with floating pickups, and one of my favorite guitars that I have at home is about a 1952 National New Yorker, 1125 New Yorker, with the black and white, the very rare black and white Valco pickup from that time, and it's floating. They sold the same guitar without a pickup, and they just had them out, and it's with the quote unquote stylus neck, which is fully adjustable on an Allen screw down here, and they're made of like a magnesium core with a wood laminate over it. Very
But you
unique
like it,
tone.
right?
Oh,
I can see it in your face. You love the thing.
yeah, great guitar. I gotta start playing that one.
Never. You see the guitars over here. I never warmed up to Nationals. Too shrill for me. Too tight. I mean.
No, this is a National arch top. I mean, maybe the one I don't know what ones you've tried.
Oh, I've never played a National.
No, it's different. It's different than playing very different than a steel resonator guitar.
Yeah, those I get them. I love them.
Yeah.
They're just not my personal cup of tea. But I never played a National arch top.
Yeah, they're cool, man.
So, along with this slide guitar, let's get to Psychedelic Slide, which has been all over the internet. It's for all over my internet feeds for the better.
Because we're friends on social media.
Well, we are, but I think you're onto something here, man. That you are running a show called Psychedelic Slide. It's at Checkpoint Charlie's, world famous Checkpoint Charlie's performance venue in New Orleans. Performance venue and
dive bar, bro.
Dive bar.
Yes, but yes, it would. You know, it was a great club when I moved here in the '90s, and it still always had some moments of awesomeness. It's such an awesome, funky, cozy little dive bar that's been such a part of New Orleans life for
100%.
as long as I've been.
You want to do your laundry and get drunk at 3
Not
in the
anymore.
afternoon?
Laundry's
Oh
gone.
no, the laundry's
Yeah,
gone. Oh shit.
But there's a green room now.
The green room used to be the bathroom. I remember that.
Or the top of the dryer.
Yes, very true. You're playing it, Mooney's playing it, and you're bringing on some heavy hitters, and you're going to do a very late night show in a week on November 2nd, correct?
Well, not as late as late night. Yeah, it's not
Or
like Jazz Fest late night,
not
yeah.
super late. But
No,
I don't want to get in front of
I think we're doing 10:30 doors and 11 show. You know, we're trying to catch the post-Tedeschi Trucks crowd, and plus it's Halloween weekend. It's a late partying weekend around New Orleans. And
Any chance of having one of those two characters show up with it? Fairly strong chance. I mean, what else is
I don't know. It's not, you
Understood.
know.
It would be nice. It would be nice.
You know, to me, I hate that I don't know them. They don't have any reason to be at my show. If they find out about it and they're there, that's great.
Cool.
That's the, but they better get there early, because in that little bar, it's gonna be packed.
I know you're selling the tickets. Selling the tickets.
Yeah, which is amazing. No one has ever bought a ticket to go to Checkpoint Charlie's. We have a little bit of reserved seating left, and then it'll all be standing GA. But I mean, to get Camille Bodeman from the Radiators, Papa Molly, and John Mooney, along with myself and Will Brown, is a really innovative slide player in the band Bakey's Brew that's coming on pretty strong around town the last couple of years. Innovative kind of prog rock instrumental band, although they're going vocal tonight apparently on the show. But he's a really interesting slide player, and he's kind of less out of the roots and bluesy rock thing than the rest of us. So to have all that in one room with a killer rhythm section with Sean Carey on bass and vocals and Colin Davis on drums in little bitty checkpoints, it's going to be off the freaking hook. I can't wait. And after the very trying to be precise and curated show I did the other week, the Bayou Gree and Mojo show I was telling you about for the opening of the Louisiana Blues exhibit at the Jazz Museum, and that was all for $1,000 sponsors and high-end museum curators. I mean, but it was still funky, which is great. It was still soulful and greasy and awesome.
That's New Orleans.
That's just good music, man.
And
but this show, it's gonna be looser and crazier. I don't have to check any historical boxes. I just need to get a bunch of great slide players and players together to just let it go and be weird and fun for a night, and I'm really excited for that.
So you're sharing a rhythm section. The same dudes are playing bass and drums.
It's my band with guests, basically.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I'll probably do a bit of a duo set with Mooney, so there'll be an acoustic, and I use that term loosely, element as well.
I've seen you pull it off with Mooney, and it is quite a powerful.
It's just not acoustic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't amplify at that level and call it acoustic.
No. But it's who cares? It's great guitar and it's great music. Whatever it is, acoustic, electric,
Yeah, Roy Bookbinder came to see us a couple of years ago, and it was when DBA was still using the outdoor space at the art market at the tail end of COVID, and it was cold. It was like upper 50s, low 60s, unexpected, so it was chilly. And Roy and his wife showed up, and about an hour later, and we're playing pretty strong. And Roy plays old acoustic instruments on a mic. That's what he does. And I figured, he must have hated this. He's long gone. All of a sudden, after like an hour, he pops up in front of us, 87 years old, animated as hell, tiny little guy, just full of fire. He goes, "Oh my God, you guys are the best act I've seen in years. Holy shit, I love it." I was just like so tickled, that. And someone who's a true acoustic purist was, digging off. But of course, Mooney's been a legend for years. I mean, I'm not saying that.
It doesn't take away from what the guy said, Mark. It doesn't take anything away from that, brother. I would love if you do something on this guitar to close us out. If you're comfortable, if not.
Sure, yeah, I'm trying to think of what to do.
Think of what to do. Psychedelic slide. Oriental slide guitar players. Checkpoint Charlie's.
Well, it's
November 2nd or 3rd?
Psychedelic slide.
Psychedelic
November 1st.
November 1st.
Friday,
Checkpoint
November
Charlie's.
1st. Yeah. It's going to be hard to really, insinuate what I'm going to do with that. But here, I'll play it. This is not a slide tune, but I love this guitar because even as an acoustic, it can, and without a very dirty sound, it can rock like a mofo. So here's a tune from my first album called I'm a Rock. Your real friends are gonna rock, darling.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well done, brother.
Thanks, Chris.
Well done, man. Well done. Beautiful music.
All right.
My friend, I think we're gonna call that.
Perfect, man. Thank you.
It was
brother.
a true pleasure, brother. True
Indeed,
pleasure.
man. Yeah, let me